Hey there, welcome to my workshop. Today I'm going to be discussing the two most important things you need to be doing before going on a spearfishing trip. I've noticed over the last few years that guys keep making these same mistakes over and over again. The first mistake is that guys come without testing their guns. So whether they've bought a new gun or they've taken an old gun which they think is really good, they bring it on the trip without having tested it and miss fish. When you go on a trip of a lifetime and have that one moment, that one opportunity, you want to make sure everything's working right. So here's what happens. Sometimes guys buy these crazy cool guns, never used them before, come on a trip and then expect, even if the gun was working 100% fine, they're going to shoot perfectly with a gun. Or alternatively, they've got a gun which they use over and over at home, but their conditions at home do not match the conditions they have on the dive trip. And guess what happens? They'll continuously miss fish. So let's look at the guys not testing their guns. The guys might have gone and bought a really good gun, no fault to the gun, but they've never used the gun and then expect in that one moment to be able to shoot a fish perfectly. That can easily be solved by just getting in a swimming pool, putting up a target, taking a few shots, and very quickly you'll work out how to use that gun, or what are the slight nuances of that gun in order to make you that much more effective. By getting in a pool, you're going to learn more in one session than you will in days and days in the sea, because in a pool you can take a whole lot of shots in a controlled environment. In the ocean, it's never controlled. You can never really tell what went wrong. The other problem is sometimes guys, they bring a gun which they use all the time at home, but the conditions are different. So, classic example, the guy comes from a place where the water is murky, like 3 to 5 meter viz. He's got a gun, he shoots lots of fish with it, but the problem is now he's in 30 meter viz and he's trying to shoot fish further away. And even if he's getting close to the fish, his hunting technique's good, that gun which might have shot fish in 3 to 5 meter viz, now you're shooting a good meter or two away, and any slight problems that gun had will now be accentuated because your gun gets more inaccurate the further away you're shooting. And the main issues are normally either the spear is bent or the rubbers are overpowered and there's too much recoil, things like that. You can hit a fish a meter or two away with a gun that's not perfect. Take that into clean water and all of a sudden that 10 centimeter difference that you had at 1 or 2 meters is now going to be 30 centimeters at 4 or 5 meters. So test your guns. Take that gun that you love so much, put it in a pool, measure off about 4 or 5 meters from the end of the spear gun to your target and actually see how accurate the gun is. You'll quickly work out if you have a problem or not. Rather find out in the pool than on the trip that you have a problem, because on the trip you cannot solve the problem. If you think that getting in a pool is not for you, just have a look at some of the best spearfishermen in the world. They keep doing it over and over again before trips. Guys like MJK will not go on a trip without testing his gear in the pool. He never leaves home without making sure that his guns are working 100%. The two major factors that are going to affect the accuracy of a spear gun are either the rubbers being overpowered or underpowered. For the most case, I see guys overpowering their guns, way too much recoil. It's impossible to have a gun that's accurate when there's so much recoil. The second thing is shafts. The shafts are not straight. If you consider that even if your tri-cut is not perfectly symmetrical, it's going to make your shaft inaccurate. How much more will a bent spear that now moves the tip maybe a millimeter or more going to make your shaft inaccurate? Make sure that your shafts are straight. So all you need to do to test the straightness of spears is 2 parallel surfaces. The back ends of 2 chairs will work fine. You just put them a little short distance apart, grab the shaft, make sure the barb is secure, either tape it down or put a little rubber band on it and roll the spear. If the spear is straight, you'll see it won't stop and it'll carry on rolling. If you take a shaft that's got even a slight bend in it, you'll hear that it's slightly different. And it'll want to stop and always stop in the same position, showing that it's actually bent. If you start seeing that the end's actually wobbling, then it's really bent, then it's absolutely useless. If you want to test a double barb spear, you just open up the two barbs like that, and you'll see this is a beautiful straight spear that just glides along. I test all my spears before I buy them. You'll be surprised how many spears off the shelf are not straight. So even in the shop, take two parallel surfaces, the back of two chairs, two barrels, and roll those shafts. Make sure that they're straight before you buy them. Some of the shopkeepers might give you a hard time, but you're spending your hard-earned money. Make sure that your shafts are straight. After checking that the shaft is straight, there's actually a few more things that you need to consider to see if you've got a high-quality spear and you're not going to lose fish. The greatest thing I have found is that if the back hole on the shaft is not polished and smooth, it's going to cut through your line. Doesn't matter if you've got cable, Dyneema, mono, it'll cut that line. Make sure that it's polished. Here's a classic example of a spear that hasn't been polished. You can see how it's cut through the Dyneema, and this was only after one fish. Secondly, make sure that the notch on your shaft is smooth, nicely polished. It's not going to cut into the Dyneema bridle on your rubbers, otherwise you're just going to keep cutting them. The last thing you want to have to do is go back to the boat and keep fixing your bridles. Another thing is compare how the barbs have been attached onto the shaft. How well have they been preed? That shouldn't be cracked, it should be nice and symmetrical, no sharp edges. So take the time and effort, get in a pool, make sure your gun's shooting well, check your shafts, your rubbers, and make sure that when that opportunity comes up on that dive trip, that you're not going to miss. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, hit me up with a comment below. If you want to watch more cool vids, subscribe up top here, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.